The band, no, there was no inkling at all whatsoever. You know, that's still a mystery today.
It was terrible what happened to him. Poor Pete, to be told on the brink of the first recording that you're out.
Now, there have been so many excuses, but we've had no actual reason as to why Peter should leave. As I say, success is hard to come by, and these things do happen. But it's just the way that it was done that has annoyed us.
What do they say mainly?
Well, you know, drummer wasn't too good, the beat wasn't so hot, you know.
The reason I was given I wasn't a good enough drummer. People who saw me play then and people who've seen me play since then have turned around and said, no, that wasn't the decision.
If you listen to his early drumming or hear any of his stuff, it was just as adequate a drummer as Ringo, if not better.
Then that opens up the enclave into what the decision was. And then you got all the other bits, jealousy, hairstyle, blah, 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 goes on. So I suppose the biggest myth is, right, I'm not influencing it, it's a public decision. That's why I turn around and say, right, I'm not a bad drummer. Okay, let the people make their own mind up about that.
I think maybe the drumming was used as an excuse to get rid of him. Unfairly.
Clash of personalities, well, probably that may be it, because Peter did have a terrific fan club, you know, compared to the others.
Too good looking, perhaps, eh?
Well, I'll leave that for the other people to say, but if it had been done a bit more straightforward, it would have been more to the mark.
We had a lot of trouble with Pete's mother, Mona Best.
She was constantly ringing up Brian Epstein and saying, what are you going to do for Pete's band? And Brian Epstein didn't like that at all.
Brian phoned me and said, I'm going to have to let the band go. He said, maybe you'd be interested. I said, why? He said, I can't get over Mrs. Best. He said, she's just, you know, overpowering. So we discussed that it might be better to get rid of Mrs. Best by getting rid of Pete.
It's a bit like that Agatha Christie book, Murder on the Orient Express, where all these people have different grudges against this person. All the people involved around Pete Best had a reason for wanting Pete Best to leave the band.
He looked great and he was a great drummer, lovely man. But he just was not, didn't have the same humour as the other three, or the same way of life.
You can't change your personality. Pete's very quiet. You know, I liked Pete, but
It was different, and that probably didn't work too well when you're away a long time together and stuck together.
We'd drive back from Newcastle and he'd go home, but we'd still go and finish the night off somewhere, you know.
the other three were so outgoing, and I think they needed somebody outgoing. You know.
I see the Beatles as being essentially pragmatic. Once they'd been grounded and focused by Epstein, they had a collective ambition, and anything that stood in the way of that ambition would be sacrificed, and I'm afraid I think Pete Best was.
But the way I look at it, you know, just let it lie now. Except for the reports in the papers, and you know, it gets me a bit niggled at times.
I mean, what is interesting is that the Mersey beat that comes out following Pete Best's sacking says that Pete Best left the band by mutual agreement. I think Bill Harry was fed that by Brian Epstein as a press release, and it was obviously completely wrong.
When Pete was fired, I mean, there was a huge outcry amongst the fan club.
It was taboo, it was really upsetting people. Nobody wanted Pete to leave the Beatles.
The reaction from people in Liverpool was absolutely incredible.
There was demonstrations, a march through the city, bring back Pete.
You know, there were riots in Matthew Street, posters, Ringo never, Pete forever.
George got punched in the face.
There was lots of trouble. Even Ringo Starr was threatened.
I used to be good mates with Ringo, you know, before the replacement took place. We're still mates now, like, but I haven't seen him to have a chat with him or anything like that.
It was very heartwarming for myself, seeing the support I had. But deep down inside, I knew that the decision had been made, you know, and regardless of what happened, you know, the door wasn't going to be opened again.